Hello, welcome back to Seawolf's Den. I'm Crafting Ron. I started a quickie project, very short project, with these dollar store He-Man miniatures. They're pretty big on a standard D&D scale. If you look at that's an orc, that's a fighter, that's a fighter. So their scale is larger than. But I have a ton of bits that are basically orc arms, orc weapons, and I've already cut. I took this man at arms. I took the arm off a man at arms. That's kind of funny. With the hopes of looking at these and seeing if these will be big enough. And these are 40K bits, and it's close, pretty close. But it is still somewhat short, although his arms are pretty beasty. I think it would work if I cut both of them off and then they just kind of scale on their own. But my thought is, I have these heads, and they fit over the top like a hump. So I'm going to Dremel down his head and place this head on it, and then maybe take his arms off and use these arms, and maybe he'll be close to scale. I've got another one. I mean, it's dollar store, so I don't. If I ruin it, I ruin it. I mean, these, and then these would be like large orcs or ogres or something like that, with some techno stuff on them. So let's go ahead and commit to. Let's see what we can do with this. And if I can do that, I might do that with He-Man as well. And I may leave his arms and just put the weapons in his hand. I think that's starting to work for me. Glue itself will fill in some gaps. All right, there's your head that works. And I may have to pin these. You can do any arms. I mean, I'm going to have guns and stuff on this guy, but they're fantasy arms. I have a few that have swords, but I don't think I have these big arms. So I'm going to have to pin these to get those in there. But I will base him. Something, so I'll just stand. If this works out, then I'll probably do He-Man that way. These stands are stupid looking. Despite the fact that Skeletor is always so cool, it's also very recognizable. But we can make him kind of a wizard ogre. What we can do with Skeletor is I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take the staff that you know him by. I'm going to probably put a sword in his hand, some kind of mace or a wand, and repaint him. I may put some extra armor on him, and we'll do that. So the other guy I was interested in doing was this guy. I can't remember his name. I wasn't that into him. It's terrible paint and it's terrible molds, so I'm just going to take his head off and maybe make him into an orc. But he's kind of oceanic in his look, but we'll work around that. Okay, so we've got guys in the works. I've got a couple of new ideas for instance, Skeletor. Have these massive arms, kind of zombie arms, with claws and bones in his hand, claws and a spike through it, holding some kind of tablet. I'm gonna put some of these on. You know, something like maybe leave some of his arm behind it, like that, and like that. And he's going to be like a what do you call him? A lich. Yeah, I think I'll do that. All right, so that's him. Now I had this laying around the background. This is Spyro. Came off a cake topper. I've already cut a little piece off because I'm trying to measure out. I found this in my stuff. It's kind of a skull. So I've done a larger version of this with a Happy Meal toy. I'm going to do a smaller version of this. I'm going to put this on his head by cutting through it, getting down to about just below his eyes. Cutting down this way, may have to cut his horns off because we already have horns. And for the lower jaw, it's either this or this. I think the lower jaw will be, this is from one of the bugs from Starship Trooper. They go together like this. I think it'll work as a lower jaw. I'll probably use some hot glue to kind of keep it all together. Or I'll leave part of his lower jaw and just jam it in there. I think that'll work. But I gotta cut, probably have to cut off his horns first and then just cut into the head. Take some, I've already taken some of the fins off, maybe some more, but cut into the head until I get to about there and maybe find a resting place for the skull. So, okay, say goodbye to Spyro. All right, it's not pretty, but I took his head off, or his face off. Okay, the hot glue is probably not going to hold the metal real well, so I just got to reinforce it with more hot glue, which I got to do anyway. Off, and then, yeah, so that's that. Let that cool down. I think we got it though. Skeletor. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have that hand, those hands together. Really would like to change that to something else rather than just a bone. Like, leave the bone bottom, but like make it into the staff head, a much better staff head than even the. I'll dig something up. All right, so he's done there. I'm gonna have to jump to, or he's ready to go next to the next phase. I'm gonna have to jump to hot pinning shortly. Okay, until next time. All right, we're going to do a couple things today to continue on this process. I've got my trusty candle, but first we're going to, kind of funny, we're going to heat Skeletor's legs up a little bit to close them. If I had compressed air, I would be using that to cool it off, but I don't. All right, close enough. All right, let's just, it's still cooling. If I see more of these Skeletors, I may get a bunch, so I have a horde of giant liches or something. All right, going back to our original guy, I have a gun and I have a sword. All right, chain sword, so I'm gonna go that way. All right. It's not bad. I mean, yeah, arms look slightly short, but I mean, for a game, that's not really matter. Okay. All right, let's look at. All right. Tear up He-Man's face. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Man, oh man. Man, your man spreads. That's some serious man spread. I want this glue, and then I'm gonna cure him of his man spread. Cool. That's it. All right, continuing on. All right, we have the originals, and I finished the 4 of them and based them. Former Skeletor. That Aqua dude, I found a perfect head for him. And then He-Man himself, got some armor on him. He's holding an axe that I pieced together. Kind of hitting his own head, but that's all right. And the first guy I worked on, Man-at-Arms. And I'm including Spyro in this, which has not been painted yet. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the development, but this was a cake topper for a Skylander Giants cake from one of my son's birthdays. I may have said that. I repeat myself a lot in these videos. He has to be painted. Look at his counterpart that I did before. Maybe paint him similarly. So these guys have to be primed, and I'll take care of that. But I figured out what I'm going to do. These guys are the crew of that airship I was working on. So I'm going to put these on the airship as crew, including Spyro. All right, here are the Masters of the Universe miniatures from the dollar store that I have converted. So this being He-Man, used a 40K head, and I'm not claiming to be the best painter, but I call this table ready. So I didn't flock these bases at all. They're Skeletor. I did a little bit more on Skeletor. I added a little bit more to him. Gave him a cape, and then I was like, well, let's go Hellraiser a little bit on him. and add some chains flying off. And honestly, I see those as weapons sometimes, so he may use some magic powers to throw those, like Hellraiser does, over his shoulder. So found that off of 40K Bit and added it to it. I really wanted to kind of separate him from Skeletor, and I think that's good enough, at least. Man-at-Arms is pretty far away from what he was. There's Man-at-Arms, cut his head off, added this guy, and some chainsword and guns, and the only recognizable part of him is the chest plate. Add a little bit on the back of a sword and a bag with a knife. So I worked out. This guy was real easy, but I love the helmet, I love the head that I got for him. It just really works in the really works in the genre that I was seeing, especially with the airship. Gave him a bag on the back too of stuff, and then of course we've got Spyro converted into a Dracolich, little baby Dracolich, and these guys back here give you kind of size comparison. You know, they're big, but I think it's a done project. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. So until next time, seek the wolf in thyself.